Located in the U.S. Virgin Islands, Little St. James was built to be an impenetrable fortress, a 71-acre private island positioned as a place where the world's wealthiest individuals could disappear entirely. But that isolation served a dark, specific purpose. Jeffrey Epstein made this his primary residence, throwing parties where he groomed, trafficked, and assaulted untold numbers of women and girls behind closed doors. That absolute secrecy cracked open earlier this year. A Wired investigation found that a location data broker with ties to the Defense Department, called Near Intelligence, left a massive cache of tracking code sitting unprotected online. Looking at this animated map of Little St. James, you can see the sheer volume of the leak. Over 11,000 coordinates populate the island, mapping the exact movements of nearly 200 cell phones to within centimeters. The data forms dense clusters tracing directly to the main house and the enigmatic hilltop temple. What stands out is the timeline. These visits occurred consistently between 2016 and 2019. A steady flow of influential people continued to travel to the island for years after Epstein had pleaded guilty to procuring a minor in 2008. Epstein built a physical stronghold to keep his network hidden, but he couldn't protect his guests from the digital surveillance state that they carried in their own pockets. If we broaden this map to view the wider Virgin Islands, we can track these devices 30 minutes before they arrived. This reveals the logistical network required to get people to the estate. Some guests landed at the neighboring St. Thomas Airport. With its VIP terminals, it was the primary hub for Epstein's 200-seater Boeing 727, famously dubbed the Lolita Express. From there, the final leg required either a boat from the American Yacht Harbor, a marina Epstein co-owned at the time, or a ride on his personal Sikorsky helicopter, which he used to ferry both guests and victims. These transit routes operated entirely in the open. The data points cluster around highly populated public beaches and luxury resorts, like the nearby Ritz-Carlton, before funneling out to the private dock. Reaching Little St. James required active coordination through a heavily trafficked public infrastructure pipeline. Pulling back, the data identifies 166 origin points across 80 cities in Florida, Michigan, and Massachusetts. The coordinates reflect a sharp divide. Some point to extreme wealth, like Trump Tower, while others hit lower-income communities, likely tracing to trafficked victims or staff. The leak also hits squarely on Epstein's other secluded trafficking hubs, including this sprawling 8,000-acre private ranch in New Mexico. The mechanism that makes tracking this precise possible is the digital advertising pipeline. The seemingly harmless weather, fitness, and game apps constantly transmit your location to ad exchanges to serve you targeted commercials. Data brokers like Near Intelligence sweep up that information from the ad platforms. They repackage it and they sell it. A client can log into their software, draw a digital bounding box around any coordinate on Earth, like a private island, and simply purchase the identities of the devices moving inside it. The scale of this shadow industry is staggering. Internal documents show Near Intelligence claimed to hold commercial tracking data on 1.6 billion people globally. The exact same ecosystem built to sell you shoes acts as an unregulated surveillance network, easily exposing the movements of the ultra-wealthy. When we look at this map on a global scale, we see data points lighting up from Australia to Ukraine. But notice the massive blank space. The entire continent of Europe stays completely dark. This isn't because Europeans weren't visiting. Epstein owned a residence in Paris, and victim testimonies confirm that European accomplices, like French modeling agent Jean-Luc Brunel, seen here with Ghislaine Maxwell, regularly traveled to the island. Europe is blank on this map because of the General Data Protection Regulation. The GDPR legally blocks ad tech companies from performing this type of covert data harvesting on European citizens. The United States lacks those protections. Under U.S. federal law, Near Intelligence and hundreds of similar data brokers are legally permitted to source, package, and sell this exact level of precision surveillance. Today, Epstein is dead. Little St. James is being redeveloped into a luxury resort, and accomplices like Ghislaine Maxwell have faced justice. In fact, when federal agents finally tracked Maxwell down to $1 million hideout in New Hampshire in 2020, they found her by pulling the exact same style of location data from her cell phone. If billionaires participating in a highly secretive, illicit network cannot hide from commercial ad tech data brokers, neither can the average citizen. Unless you actively disable location tracking on your device, your movements are